my name is Jordan, aka King Friday, and I am here with the legendary Tony Friday, Homeowners Association management extraordinaire, construction industry extraordinaire, public speaker, motivational speaker, author, loving father, all of those things.
I can't take no more
of HOAworks. So how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm looking forward to the conversation about how HOA works.
Absolutely, how HOA works. So this is our first podcast for HOAworks. I think it's going to be a really good conversation. Just going to keep it pretty, even keel, lightweight, not get too heavy duty for this conversation into the ins and outs of Homeowners Association management. But I do want to talk about sort of starting with you and the types of things that you've done in the past in the way of Homeowners Association management. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, just like most people that get in the HOA business, most of us fall into it. You can't go to college for it. You can't say, I want to be an HOA manager. So
are you sure?
No, you can't go to college for it.
Wow.
There's industry organizations that provide a lot of the education that you need in order to be a good association manager or be certified and have a different designations, right? Like I am a certified community association manager.
Okay.
They have association community manager. So they have different types of designation depending on what organization you belong to, but you can't go to college for it. So most of us just fall right into it.
Wow.
Right? So I came out of working for United Parcel Service, went into association management just by accident. I really thought I was just going into straight property management, managing apartments, but there was this field called HOA management. And then I got into it and found out that there was a whole world there of homeowners associations that were being managed by association managers, right? So that's how I got into it. And I stayed in the business for maybe 10 years, 12 years, and then had an opportunity to get out of the industry and go into the construction industry where I stayed for another 10, 12 years. And then in 2008, when the recession happened, I found myself back in the industry again. And so I've been back in the industry since 2011, 2012. And I manage all types of properties. I've managed on-site. I've managed condominiums, planned developments, never managed any co-ops. Been on-site manager, as I said. But I spent the last 10, 12 years now in association management. And it's an interesting industry. And it's not for everyone, but if you find yourself in it, it could be a very good industry, right? It's tough, but you learn so many skills as an association manager. You get a little bit of legal background, not that you'll be an attorney, but you get a little bit better understanding of how to read legal documents, get a lot of skills in the area of construction. So whether it's paint or siding, pool and spa renovations. There's so much that goes into managing an association. So I've acquired a lot of skills over those years. And so having initially got into the business, then getting into construction, getting out of construction, and back into the industry for the last, like I said, 10, 12 years, it's been an interesting ride. And the industry has changed so much. When I first got in the industry, you could just post a notice. So if you had a board meeting, you could post a notice a day or two before the meeting. Now there are guidelines. So if you have a board meeting, you have to post 4 days before the meeting. If you have an executive session, you have to post that 2 days prior to the meeting. In California, other states have different regulations, but in California, that's what we have to do. So very challenging, but it can also be very rewarding industry. And so that's where I am right now, manage as a portfolio manager, and I'm managed on site. But right now I'm doing a lot of portfolio management and education and those kind of things. So that's where I'm at right now.
Nice. So being in the industry so long, you mentioned that you were saying that it's changed a lot. In the way of technology, I'm just curious, like how has HOA management sort of changed in the way of technology over the years? Has it changed? Has there been, a sort of a upwards trajectory? Has it sort of remained stagnant? Like where is the Homeowners Association management game sort of at in the way of technology and utilizing technology?
Well, the industry, in my opinion, is still lagging behind. There are still a lot of managers that use paper. Right, a lot of people still using paper, and you'll go in some people's offices and they'll have paper stacked up.
I hate paper.
I hate paper too. I'm not a paper guy, and my office is always pretty much immaculate because everything I need is online.
Yeah.
So I use my phone a lot. So I can really manage property from my phone or from my iPad.
Wow.
I can access my desktop and all of the documents that I need.
You can really do it from like mobily?
Oh, I can do everything mobily.
Wow.
Right?
Not everybody can say that.
Well,
a lot of people have to have something.
Well, because a lot of people are afraid of technology. They still are uncomfortable with it.
Why is that?
I have no idea. They're comfortable with going to their desktop and working off of it. They're comfortable with apps. So it's funny why a lot of them are uncomfortable with really managing from an iPad or from their phone, but they can get on their computer. Now, not all managers are like that. I'm not saying I'm the only manager out there that's doing it, because I know I'm not. But generally speaking, when you talk to managers, at least when I talk to managers, they have a very difficult time managing remotely.
Right.
I'm talking about from their phone. Now, I'm not talking about remotely from home. I'm just talking about on their cell phone and their iPad or some other device. The Surface is another great tool to use.
Oh yeah.
In managing an association. So, but trying to get them to change. Now, some companies just haven't purchased that technology. Some have. They have the resources. Some don't have the resources. So if you don't have the resources to buy iPads and those kinds of things for people to use in the field, then guess what? You got a problem. So, but I've always used my own. So I have my own iPad, my own cell phone. So I use all my own too. And I've been doing this for, I want to say, since I got back in the business, about 10 years. I've been using all this technology.
No, so you haven't been in the industry for 10 years. I mean, you've been in the industry more than 10 years. Yeah, but you've been using this new technology for about 10 years.
Right, because when I first got in the industry, we didn't have iPhones and iPads and those kinds of things. You couldn't work remotely. They didn't have the capability back in '86 for us to actually work remotely.
Because I remember seeing a picture of you where you had pretty much, this was a while ago, but you pretty much had every single device possible. And you must have like 5 different devices in front of you doing Homeowners Association management. And nobody else was doing something like that, I don't think, at the time.
And I needed it.
Yeah.
So I had multiple screens. I had my iPad. I had my iPhone. I had my laptop going. So I was using all those devices, and I still use 3 screens right now when I'm at my desk. But when I'm out, I can access it either through Splashtop, my desktop through Splashtop, or through remote desktop through Microsoft.
I love Splashtop. I use it all the time.
Yeah, so that's a great tool. So getting more and more managers to actually use the technology, like I do and some others, it keeps me sane. Because guess what? I can be sitting down at a restaurant, whether it's going through emails and if I'm going through email and someone wants a document, boom, I'm just going right there from my desktop because I'm accessing my desktop emails. And so all I do is go into my server or go into the files, click it, boom, it's there.
There you go. Now, real quick, let's assume, so we sort of jumped, I sort of jumped into technology and Homeowners Association management. That's a good jumping off point. But I think some people are probably don't fully understand what, like they may understand like the general concept of a Homeowners Association management, that it's basically, everybody within the management within the association is sort of, there's a governing body of that that allows them to be able to do things like common areas and general upkeep of the entire property. Would you say that that's a layman's terms sort of what a homeowners association management is?
What
homeowners association is?
Well, what homeowners association, what people don't understand, it really is like a mini government.
Right.
Okay, so you got a governing body, and that's the board of directors, okay? And so you might substitute that for a city council or something like that. And then when you're looking at the HOA, you have to talk about what type. So is it a condominium? Is it a planned development? Is it a co-op like in New York and other places? They have co-ops. They have commercial condominiums now. So there's all these various forms of ownership, and you just need to understand exactly which one you're getting into. And a lot of people don't. They think they do. It's a homeowners association, and I have to pay monthly dues or monthly assessments to the association. And they don't really understand what it is they're getting for their money. So
and my generation doesn't understand why we need somebody telling us what we need to, what we can and can't be doing in the house that we just purchased.
Well,
that's the thing I don't.
Well, see, that's the deal, and it's a great question, and it's one that I always have to deal with, and that is, why do I have to pay a mortgage, and now I have to pay $400 or $300 or whatever it is to an association, and for that association to tell me I can't open my garage more than an hour, I can't have certain curtains in my windows, I can't leave my trash cans out, I have to put them in right after, and if I don't, I get a letter.
And they seem like such like little things. I mean, I guess I can kind of sort of see it that it's like, well, if everybody abides to all of these rules, even though they like all of them, if you spread them all out, look like a lot of rules. If we all abide by them, the whole place looks pretty nice.
Well, and see, that's the whole thing,
right?
But see, that's the key, and that's one of the important keys to remember. Part of the association's job and the board of directors of that association is to maintain the assets of the association, right? That's their primary job, and that's architectural control. That may be managing all the common areas. Those things help maintain the assets or the value of the assets, what people don't really understand. So if I go into an association and I want to paint my house, okay, I don't want somebody telling me to paint how to paint my house. Well, you can't go into an association and just say, I want to paint my house purple, when all the other homes are muted colors and those kinds of things.
Which in your normal neighborhood, I mean, we've seen it. I've seen a house that not that far from where I used to live that had they painted it black. Right. The whole house was just black. Yeah. It's like you can't do that.
Now, and just think if you had this kaleidoscope of colors in a neighborhood, it would impact the value. If you have people who are working on their vehicles in their driveways, that's going to impact. If they don't take care of their lawns, those kinds of things can impact value. And so when you move into a homeowners association, it is a community, and these homeowners associations are not a new idea. They go back thousands of years. Where they have these kind of communities where everybody were working together, working in community, and that's what these associations are. So now, but here's the important thing: if you're a young person, you need to understand what it is you're getting into. A lot of people don't take the time to do that. So if you don't want someone to tell you what to do, you can't move into a community that has conditions, covenants, restrictions, rules and regulations.
Wait, do all homeowners associations do that?
Yeah, all your associations are going to have some governing documents. They may be called something. Some are called the CCNR's enabling documents. They have all kinds of different names, and that's an old time name. But there's a lot of associations that have governing documents that governs the behaviors and expectations of the people that reside there. Let me just tell you a real quick story. When I purchased my first home, my agent took me to this community. I said, "Wow, this is nice. I love this.
This is nice."
And then I went like this. I said, "Something's wrong." I said, "Is this a homeowners association?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Get in the car." Get in the car. I don't even want to have anything to do with a homeowners association because I know what kind of person I am.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone saying that I have to close my garage door or I have to do certain things. So I didn't want to move there.
Well, but the thing is, it's like, obviously, it's like, so you work for or you're partnered with HOAworks. It's like you're directly involved with HOAworks. It's like where they're essentially saying it is a play on words that it does work. Like, it may not work for you. Is there anything that you could tell people that it's like a reason why you would? The value of a homeowners association?
Yeah. See, as long as you know. So I had one homeowner said before they purchased the home, part of the condition of sale is they needed three days to review the governing documents. Mm-hmm. So they wanted to make sure they knew what they were getting into before escrow closed. Mm-hmm. See, there's a lot of people when they get the documents and they never read the document. They never read the CC&R, never read the rules and regs. Yeah. So when they get a letter that tells them that they can't do something,
it's all a surprise.
It's all a surprise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're saying, well, I didn't know this. Well, you signed for the documents that said you're going to read them, that you received them. It's up to you to read them.
There's a Black Mirror episode where they take this one lady's life and turn it into a Netflix series, like in real time with AI. And they basically, and they're like, how are they allowed to do this? I'm going to sue them. They're like, did you read the terms and conditions for Netflix? And they were like,
that's right.
It's allowed. And then it's like, no, there must be something. No, it's airtight.
It's the same.
And now you're in the house. It's
the same exact thing. You have to sign, anytime you get an app or something like that, you go down, do you agree to all the terms and conditions? And you just say yes, because if you say no, because if you say no, guess what? You can't download the app.
Right.
And it's the same thing with the homeowners association. If you say no, guess what? Escrow doesn't close.
Yeah.
The deal collapses. So you're gonna say yes, even though you're not gonna read them. Exactly. You know you're not gonna read all those documents, right? Exactly. So that's what happens. If you were going to ask me what percentage of people actually read their CC&R, the governing document, it's a very small percentage.
Ugh. Yeah.
And that's why people, when they call you, I get calls, can you do this? Can I do this? Should I do that? And what I really want to say is just read your CC&Rs. Right? And so, one of the things as a manager, though, and as a board, one of the challenges in managing is having the right tools, right? So if you have the right tools and tools that you can invite the homeowner into, this is why I got involved with HOAworks.
Yeah. Well, and real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but one of the things that I want to talk about is as we go into
you didn't mean to cut me off, but you did.
No, I definitely did. Yeah, no, absolutely. I wish I didn't have to.
That's all right.
Yeah, but basically, what I want to talk about is as we move into the technology discussion, specifically with HOAworks, because that's I definitely want to get to that. But is the difference between having a homeowners association that is managed by a management company and then a self-managed one? I don't think everybody is probably going to fully understand the difference between those. So if you could hit that topic, that would be great.
Well, a managed association actually has a professional management company. They may have a professional management company, and that's an outside company that the board of directors contracts with to assist them in the day-to-day managing of the assets of the association, right? So that's management. Then they have self-managed. Now, self-managed is a couple of things. Self-managed, they can have an association that hires a professional manager that is unique to their particular association. I mean, they work only for their association. And typically, they're going to call them a general manager. So there's a general manager, assistant general manager, and they're all employees of the association. They also have associations where the board of directors manage the association, and they may have employees that they manage, right, for the association.
Interesting.
Right? And then some associations are self-managed, and I don't recommend this, but they're self-managed by people who really don't have the expertise to manage.
Well, and that's what I think a lot of people are scared of, is getting into a homeowners association where it's self-managed and it's got, I'm sure you've heard many times that it's like, I just saw a post on social media about people talking about, it's like, I can't believe that that my neighbors are the ones that are telling me what I can and can't do, and they're power tripping and they're all that kind of stuff. Do you have any advice for when you're looking at potentially a home that's in a homeowners association, whether it's self-managed or not? Are there any things in the CC&Rs or anything that you should be looking out for where it's like, I don't have any recourse?
Well, here's what I would suggest. You want to look at the governing documents, but you can learn a lot about the community when you first go in.
Yeah.
If you go into a community and you see vehicles that are being worked on, oil stains in driveways, garage doors open, people putting blankets over fences and those kinds of things, looking at the window coverings, looking at the buildings, have they been painted? What do the roofs look like? What do the streets look like? You can learn a lot about the maintenance of the association just by driving through and being observant.
Yeah.
Right? What does the landscaping look like in all the homes?
Yeah.
What are if there's signage within the community, is all faded and those kinds of things. Is it being maintained? Are the trees being maintained?
So would that be a sign of maybe they're not as heavy duty with the rules?
Well, no, what it says is that they're not being well managed, right? And so
Whoever that might be.
It might be the board, it might be a management company, right?
Yeah.
So you want to take a look at those kinds of things, but before you move in, even if you don't have time, even if you don't have time to read all the governing documents, one of the things you want to do is go and get into your CC&Rs, and there's association maintenance responsibilities and their homeowner maintenance responsibilities.
Okay.
And then there's what they call use restrictions. What can I do? How can I use my property? There's some restrictions to the use of my property. Like I said earlier, how long can I have my garbage can out? How long can I have my, how long can I have my garage door open? What kind of window coverings can I have? Who is responsible for painting? If I can paint, when can I paint? And because guess what? There's going to be architectural controls. So,
but see, if you think that there's something that is unfair when you go and say you buy the house and you think that there is something that is unfair, that the board is being unfair in something, that it's like they're not, because does the board have the opportunity, or have you seen where it's like the board is telling a homeowner, let's just say for the sake of argument, they're telling the homeowner, you can't put up an American flag up against your garage. You can't do that. Technically, it doesn't say anything about putting an American flag next to your garage, but the board is saying we don't want you to do that. Do they have any does the homeowner have any recourse?
Well, yeah, because if the governing documents don't speak to it, then you're going to probably look to local and state statutes. Typically, especially in the area of flags, they have size, dimensions, and those kinds of things. But those get very, 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 it's very, very touchy. American flags, any other kind of flag that you want. Now, the only thing about that is it a flag that is going to incite people?
Yeah.
And sometimes people will say the American flag incites people. But let me get back. Let me just state this. The board of directors are elected by the members. Okay. And sometimes the members don't elect them. Maybe there are certain appointments, or what they call if the community is very apathetic and they don't want to vote. Sometimes you get board of directors who've been serving on boards forever because there's such apathy in the community, and they just get reelected every year by either acclamation or very low vote count. Now, if rules can be changed. Let me just say this real quick. In California, in order for a rule to be enforceable, it has to be reasonable. Right? You have to have reasonable rules.
Well, by who though?
Who
says it's reasonable?
Sometimes that's where the courts come in.
Damn.
Right? But typically, so like we have somewhere where they wanted potted plants. So someone had, just a litany of plants all outside. It looked like a hoarding of plants.
Oh my gosh!
And they had a mini jungle. So
I've been to houses like that.
So what we said is there are a lot of homeowners that want to have potted plants.
Yeah.
Let's be reasonable. Let's not tell the person they can't have any plants. Or is it reasonable to say you can only have 2 plants? Well, you got a big space there. You got a walkway. You got a big entry. 2 potted plants doesn't seem reasonable. So the association that I work with, we came up with like 10 potted plants. You can have 10 potted plants, right? Sure. And as long as the pots they blend in, or they don't distract from the building where they come like, wow, they got that weird looking pot out there. But even then, the board may say, I don't really care what kind of pot you have, as long as the plants that are in the pot are being well maintained. As long as you maintain them, we don't have a problem. You can have 10. If you want, here's the other piece. If you want more than 10, submit an architectural improvement application that says, I have 10, I want 2 more or 3 more.
You have recourse.
Yeah.
In that case.
So and then if I were on the board, I would say, you know what, that's a nice looking plant. They got a lot of space there. I may be inclined to, but your rules have to also state that you can have up to 10. Any more than 10, you need to have board approval, right? And you need to submit an architectural application.
So is there a way? So I mean, can anybody like apply to be on the board? Do you need to be in the house for a certain amount of time? Like what how do you do
Good.
that?
In California, you have to be a member, and a member is someone who is on the deed. A deed of trust, right?
So like if I buy a house that's in the Homeowners Association.
Yeah, so if you buy a home in a Homeowners Association, your name is going to be on the grant deed.
Yeah.
So now, as soon as you buy in it, you become a member.
Okay.
Right? And the member has certain responsibilities, paying assessments, or abiding by the governing documents. But if you ever want to be on the board, typically one of the document that you can find all the requirements is in the bylaws.
Okay.
So you go in the bylaws and it will tell you, you got to be a member. You have to be in what they call good standing. What that means, everybody kind of freaks out about that term, good standing. But you don't have a bunch of violations. You don't owe the association a lot of money.
And real quick, just as an aside, is that like those violations? Are those legally binding? Like, say I just don't. Like, you told me don't put pink curtains, and I keep putting pink curtains.
That's a good question.
I just got to ask.
They're not legally binding, right? So let me just go through this real quick. Is if you have pink curtains and it's in violation of the governing documents, I'm going to send you. You're going to receive a courtesy notice.
Okay.
You still don't take care of it, we're going to send you a second notice. And this is all outlined in your enforcement policy, right? So now I'm going to send you a second note. You're still blowing me off. You're not doing anything. So now I'm going to send you a final notice, a notice of hearing, inviting you to a hearing.
Dang.
Before the board of directors.
Sheesh.
And so you come to but we can't force you in California. We can't force you to come to a hearing. But if you come to the hearing, we're going to hear you out. You're going to say why you believe you should be able to be allowed to have pink curtains. Board then can take that under consideration, and then they're going to make a determination. And in California, you have to give the determination within 10 days of the hearing.
But what? But
let me say this real quick.
Yeah.
You got to get 10 days of hearing. The board may fine you according to that enforcement and fine schedule that they've established that all homeowners know. And they may have levels. So for curtains, it may be a $50 fine. Now here's the deal: homeowners may say, "Fine me all you want. I'm not paying it."
That's what I want to know.
Well, it stays on your record until it's paid, and typically they're not going to pay it until they have to refinance their home, or sell that home. Because now the escrow company is going to send us.
It's locked to the escrow company?
Well, the escrow company is going to send us a demand to say how much does the homeowner owe.
To the Homeowners Association?
Yeah, they're going to send it.
So it is kind of legally binding in that regard.
Yeah, well, we can't send somebody to jail because they have pink curtains.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get at.
We're not going to have the people break down their front door and rip down their pink curtains and put up the kind of curtains they want. So no, but it's not legal.
So if they do want to sell it, say they want to sell the house, they can't sell the house without paying all those fines.
Oh, they're going to have to pay. They have to pay the fines.
Or what?
Well, it's not or what.
There is no
escrow,
or what?
No, the escrow company is going to say, they're going to send a demand. They're going to say, what are the outstanding amounts owed? Late fees, interest, all that kind of thing. We're going to give them a number. So the number may be they owe, $50 in assessments, but they may owe $800 in fines.
Dang, dude,
we got collected like that. I think that it was nearly $1,000. The person didn't want to pay it, but when they sold, it got paid.
Oh, it wasn't. Now, does it like increment where like it was $50 for this week, but then for like every subsequent week?
Oh yeah,
it's another $50.
Well, it depends on people's. Gosh. It depends on how their enforcement policy is laid out.
Is there? Could you do that?
Some what they do is they will fine, and I don't really subscribe to this, but they will fine $50 a day until it's cured.
Gosh!
And one guy $2,800 in fines. Now, see, the problem with that, this is good stuff. The problem with that, though, is, and I tried to share this with them, is if you go to court, if that homeowner wants to take you to court, judge going to say, okay, why are we here? Well, I think I'm being harassed or treated unfairly, whatever the case may be. And the board may say, hey, you know what? They were in violation of the governing documents, blah, 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 blah. And we fined them at $50 a day, and now they owe us $2,800. And then the judge may ask the board or the homeowner, says, hey, have the violation been cured? Yes, it has been corrected. When was it corrected? It was corrected a month ago, right? The judge may go like this. They were in violation. They admitted they're in violation. I'm going to waive all but $100 of the fines.
And the judge can do that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they can.
Whoa.
Because at some point it becomes unreasonable, right? You know, person got pink curtains and they owe $2,800 in fines for pink curtains.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem reasonable. That's what happens sometimes. And then a lot of times it never gets there. Good managers, good board, reasonable boards to say, I've had them. I said, you know what? As long as you correct it, we will waive all but $100 or all but $200. And we've had it where a person owed nearly $3,000. We said, if you just correct the violation, said it in a letter, just correct the violation, and we'll waive the whole $3,000. Person still didn't do it.
Thousands.
So, but what we did is we set it up so if we ever did arrive in court, we would be able to go to the judge and say, hey, look at the letter. We sent them the letter since we would waive it. We just wanted the violation corrected.
Yeah, and that's a fair letter too.
Yeah, and then now we're in a little bit better position because we're trying to be reasonable. We're not trying to be dictatorial.
Yeah. Now here's my question: what if they didn't sign anything at the beginning? Like say in the CC&Rs, it didn't say anything about pink curtains. It was not mentioned. Then suddenly, I put pink curtains up. Now the board is saying, well, we want to add no pink curtains in the bylaws. Now what?
You would almost think we scripted these questions.
And we didn't.
No, I know
this
we didn't.
is a legit question I got.
Well, but see, the thing about it, if there's no provision in the governing documents that says anything about pink curtains, guess what? There's no violation.
But if they say but we're tired of pink curtains, we're putting it in the bylaw.
Well, here's what I'm talking about. You can't just do that in response to someone pink curtains because now it becomes potentially prejudicial or discriminatory because I'm putting a rule just because you got pink curtains. So what you do is you say, no, we're not going to make a rule for just pink curtains, but we do see a lot of homeowners now putting some curtains that really make the community look like a hodgepodge, and they're not even complementary curtains.
Yeah.
What we should do is have a provision that says, you can have white, off-white, beige curtains or whatever. And if you're going to have pink, the whole neighborhood doesn't need to see you have pink curtains. If you want to put maybe white curtains in front of pink, so inside your unit you see pink.
Yeah.
But from where we're at, we only see white. Right? Make it be sheer or something like that, where
that's cool.
You can let light go through. So there's some reasonable things to do to be able to accommodate that. But if there's no rule, there's no violation. Now, one quick thing, unless they consider it to be a nuisance. If the board's getting all these complaints from homeowners talking about pink curtains, and that it might be considered loosely a nuisance or a public nuisance, because everybody's complaining about your pink curtains, you might have an issue there, but it's still going to be probably pretty tough, especially since there's no rule against not having pink curtains, but they may stretch it or really try to stretch the nuisance provisions.
That makes sense. So this has been a great conversation. I think just as a primer for people that have never really gotten into homeowners associations before, they don't really understand it. I think this has been a good primer to sort of understand like a couple of those questions of before you even get into one, this is what you need to know.
Let me just finish up with a thought with this. For anyone, whether you're a prior homeowner or if you're a young new homeowner going into an association, It could be a great choice for a young family, a husband and wife gone all the time, or whatever, or whoever the couple is. They're gone all the time. They don't have time to mow lawns and those kinds of things. Worry about any of the maintenance and that kind of thing. That might be a good thing for them. Sure, because they're never home and they just want a nice place. And when I'm home, I can go jump in the pool or whatever. I don't have to worry about any of those kind of maintenance responsibility. If you get older, I don't have time to mow my lawn and that kind of thing. I'm 80 years old or 60 years old. I don't want to do that anymore. That might be a good thing. But the one thing you need to make sure you do before you go into a homeowners association, you want to make sure you look at their budget and look at their reserve study, because if their budget, if they have a high assessments and they have a lot of in their budget, they have a high budget and and the budget and associations assessments are changing every year. Last year it was 400, this year it's 425, 450. The next, so you want to make sure that you're paying attention to that. You also want to pay attention to their reserve funding. What's the percentage of funding? Are they 0%? Are they 40%? Are they 20%? Right? You want to make sure, because the financial piece is probably one of the most critical pieces that people overlook, because they can then get into an association. They just bought in. A year later, they get hit with a $20,000 special assessment because of the deferred maintenance within the community. Now, obviously, there are other reasons why you can have a special assessment, but typically special assessments have to do with maintenance issues because they haven't been funded properly. So you want to make sure when you go in there, you're funding properly. Then make sure it's the kind of community you want to live in. Guess what? I don't care about my garage door being closed all the time. It's not a big deal because I don't want to see it open. I don't have a problem with the trash cans being put out. Having to be put back the day that the garbage is picked up. Don't have a problem with that. I like that idea. You just need to understand what kind of community you're moving into.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of people don't do that.
Now, so do you think that is it possible for me to be able to, like, as we close out, like, do you think it's possible for me to be able to look at, like, the financials of a homeowners association before I go in, where it's like, oh, dude, you guys are like, $150,000 in debt, or like I right out of the gate, I'm going to be hit with like X amount of fines. Like, are there ways to know that going in, really?
Oh yeah, you can make that request. Now, see, in part of the demand, they're going to ask for a copy of the budget. So you're going to see the budget, and they're going to.
Really?
Yeah, they're going to. And you can potentially get a copy of the current financial statements, right, for the association.
Yeah.
And that we get requests for that all the time. It's the annual reviewed financial statements for associations that have revenues of $75,000 or more. They have to have their financials reviewed, and the taxes prepared, and also financial reviews. At least that's the way it is in California. Other states may have other kinds of laws or statutes, but that's the way it's in California.
Nice. This has been an amazing conversation. I've actually.
I don't want. Yeah, but I don't want it to end.
No. That's what next episode. Next episode.
Next episode we got to really get into this. I want to really share with people HOA works and how it works, and how all the stuff that we talked about just now can be brought into some type of real tight organizational structure that'll allow board members and their homeowners to really love their HOA.
And that's what I think that's the one thing that if I think more people would be willing to go into an HOA if they knew that it was not going to be this awful process of being managed.
And and like I said, and we'll talk about that later, but getting information.
Yeah.
So keeping people apprised of what's going on, being very transparent in your community.
Yeah.
The board and management, if it's a professional management company, or if it's an association that's truly self-managed, information is king.
Yeah.
When and some people say, well, too much information. I personally like inundating people with information as much as I can possibly give them, because I know I'm going to give them the information so they don't believe they're being kept in the dark, especially when they're paying their monthly assessments.
Tony.
Hey, man.
This has been great.
Love it.
Episode 1 in the can. Thank you so much for watching. Hey. We'll catch you on the next one of HOAworks Podcast.